is on the ABCs of using digital body language on Zoom. And let's just quickly go over our training objectives. And then I'm going to kind of do like a little background, just a quick little refresh on digital body language. So for today, we're going to learn more about digital body language on Zoom. And then we're going to demonstrate effective digital body language or DBL on Zoom. And then we're going to test and refine our DBL on Zoom. So whether you're a learner or you're a facilitator, we're constantly working through that training cycle, right? And we're always going to get to the evaluative portion where we can test and refine and decide where we want to move forward. And that's what I want us both to be able to do with DBL. So let's see here. Okay, make the most of your rectangle. And Anna, I know you know what I mean by rectangle. It's these little rectangles that we live in on Zoom, right? This is our little home. And spaces are important. I think spaces are hugely important for humans. And on Zoom, this is the space that you're given. So we have to make the best of it, right? So in the training that I gave our learning team a couple weeks ago, we learned about digital body language. And it was more of a broad overview. It was how you could use it over email, text message. But for today, we're going to focus just on video conferencing in Zoom. So I sent you out kind of just a silly little pre-assessment quiz. I knew you're very knowledgeable already about digital body language. And it was more just to get you thinking about it again. So when I was a kid, we had Highlights magazine. And in Highlights were these spot the difference pictures. And so that's what my pre-assessment was. It was sort of just like a silly take on spot the difference. And so if we look over here, obviously this is not the best lighting, there's shadows. And then over here, if like me, you struggle with finding good lighting, one thing that I learned is that you can literally just turn up or turn down the lighting on your computer. And so I turn it up all the way, and that seems to counteract some of those situations where you don't have good lighting. Down here, this eye contact, something I also struggle with on Zoom, but so important, right? So a lot of the times when you're presenting, you have a strip of your participants on Zoom, and they're either down here or they're over here, right? And so as a human, where do your eyes want to go? They want to go to the faces because that's how we connect. So what I do is I drag those people over to the middle of the screen. And so that way it's kind of like hopefully the best of both worlds. In this one, my body language, I'm tired, I don't look very involved or engaged. And so this is where really that digital body language can come through over Zoom. You want to use your hand gestures, make the most of a little space that you have. And then down here, I don't know, Anna, I thought you might be able to relate having children, laundry basket, my child's picture, a cat bed. A lot of times, like a couple minutes before the call, I just throw everything out of the frame. I don't care where it goes. As long as you can't see it, it doesn't matter, right? So that was our little refresh on DBL. So now let's talk about the ABCs of digital body language on Zoom. And that would be audience, brevity, and connection. So the first letter, A, is for audience, and that means to know your audience. Some of the ways that we could do that is we could consider opening up Zoom 15 minutes early and communicating to our learners, hey, I'm going to be on Zoom about 10-15 minutes early before the training. If you're comfortable, why don't you come in, have a cup of coffee with me, meet some of the other learners, get to know your facilitator as a human being and not just like this disembodied head. It also gives you the opportunity as the trainer to get to know about some of the individuals that you're going to be teaching. Obviously, pre-assessments, we've learned a lot about how we can use those, but I don't think there's like a right or a wrong way. I think you can use your creativity, you can try new techniques, maybe some will work better than others, that's okay. But it's all about the process of, okay, how do I establish the learner's needs And how do I determine where they're at in that knowledge? Okay, first exercise, because I want to make this more of like a coaching, just a back and forth dialogue, since I know you're already really good at this stuff. So, for the first exercise, in your own words, how do you like to connect with your audience over Zoom? Is there any like little tip?
I think I'm a natural, well, I like stories, so I tell stories. And I did like your idea of getting a little bit earlier because as I was thinking, as you were talking, I use the time of a lesson to do that connection. But if I open it up a few minutes earlier, it will give an opportunity for them to get to know me. So then when the time comes, we can use it effectively. So I think stories, and it's a simple one, maybe like what was the best part of your week? Or what was the worst part of your week? Or sometimes I start with like question of the day, and they can be silly, like if you can get rid of any vegetable, like what vegetable would you get rid of and why? Or like, would you rather have a pet dinosaur or a pet dragon? So
That.
that's another kind of like, and everybody, like a lot of times even with adults, I start with that and everybody looks at me before I even introduction. It's like, wait, before we get started, I have a very important questions for you guys. Dinosaurs or dragons? And everybody's like, wait, we don't even know your name. And I was like, never mind, the dragon or dinosaur.
Better, right? I love it. Those are great ideas. Those are great suggestions. I feel like anything you can do to get them talking, right? You know you're going to have
Yes.
introverts and you're going to have to get them to engage as much as the ones that are like, I gotta go. Very awesome. Thank you, Anna. Okay, next letter. B for brevity. Ooh, something I struggle with. Brevity is the soul of wit. You ever heard that saying? It means we like to get our information short and sweet. So whether someone's telling a joke, usually it's funnier the shorter it is, right? Well, that's really hard when you're giving a training, but some things we can think about are our bullet points. And this was great feedback that you as a learning team gave me during my training is, say less in your PowerPoint and then that way you're not reading, you're just explaining. And I really liked that. And then Anna, you had talked about those chunks, those palatable bites of information. And I like that. We're always being encouraged to chunk into small pieces. So I think of it as like little bites of chocolate instead of this big hunkin' steak, so much easier. Okay. In the spirit of brevity, is a super little short clip just to like get us thinking about it. So this gentleman, his name is Matt Koval. He's called the Presenting Pro on YouTube. And he's kind of poking fun at those of us like myself.
Zoom call mistakes. You've seen them, you've made them. Here's number 9. Terrible time management. Okay, everyone, now I'd like to go around the room and let's just all tell the story of our lives. Aaron, we'll start with you and then go to Z. What was first grade like?
It's terrible, huh? He's so sarcastic. I can picture this guy in a training, like, oh, but it's so true. So with that, I'm just going to move on. Second exercise. Okay, so this is to help us work on our brevity. So within let's say 3 sentences, can you tell me one thing you like about Zoom? One thing that really works for you. 3 sentences.
No pants. No, I'm kidding.
I love it. Very
Um,
good point.
I think we've all seen enough Zoom, enough memes, and enough funny videos when the parents stand up, or like a person stands up and it's like tie and no pants. But I think what I like about Zoom is that I can finish my coffee and turn on the screen and be here and be present. And I think like no pants is almost like a metaphor. Like there's no this an hour of getting ready, driving, thinking what to wear, putting makeup on. I found this setting on Zoom that does like enhance appearance. And I was like, oh, I look good today.
I like that one too. Yes, it's all about good lighting. It's
Yeah, so I think yes. So I think this whole idea of not having to waste that prep time, that's my best. That's what I love about Zoom.
So if you had to say that in 3 sentences, how could we do that? So maybe I don't have to be stressed.
Saving of time with no need to waste it for useless somewhat preparation.
Okay, I love it. Good, very good brevity. Okay. The last letter of the ABCs is C for connection. This is my favorite. I think it's by far the most important. So we want to connect with our learners, right? I heard this the other day and it really struck me as so true. And it's that when you are leading a training on Zoom or a meeting, you're like a game show host, right? For 2 reasons. So a game show host has to get the audience to interact. They have to get the contestants to interact. They're explaining the rules of the game and they're directing these contestants. But at the same time, they're on camera, right? They have to be aware of the words that they're saying, the way that they're communicating. So you're really like this game show host with all these different bells and whistles going on. But because of that, it means that you are actually in control of quite a few things. One of which is the positive energy. So you can encourage that energy and you can encourage a rapport with the learners and between you and the learners and with each other. And we talked about, get to your training 15 minutes early and talk to your learners. Also make interaction an expectation. I really liked you did that in your training. And so I knew, okay, Jolene and Maddie have told their stories. I got to tell mine. No big surprises. You could also, if you know that you have some like serious introverts, you could put in your agenda that you send out prior to the training, like, hey, I'm going to ask these 3 questions and I'm going to expect you guys to respond. So prepare your answer now. If you want, you can do it over chat. And that way, hopefully you sort of please everybody. All right. Okay, so before I show you this clip, do you remember back in 2020, if you want to think about it, when everything shut down, including the theaters, right? There was no live theater. Everything was shut down. Well, in this video, he calls himself the augmented actor. His name is Doug Fall. He's talking about how they took a theater production, Angels in America, and they put it on Zoom. And it's like, how can you do that? How can you, knowing that live theater is all about the interaction between you and the audience, and that the actors like rely upon that engagement. You hear the audience clap, you hear them sigh and laugh. That is what theater is all about. So how do you get that on Zoom? Well, in this video, he's talking a little bit about some of the things that they did, and I think it's pretty interesting.
And a lot of the messages resonate. It's also a difficult play to do for Zoom because you're missing some of the special effects that come with doing this play of the angels and all these things that kind of make it exciting to watch the show live. They're kind of missing when you go to the Zoom, and it's very easy to fall into this sort of talking head presentation that feels very one level, and we got to do our best to sort of break out of that. So we add our own effects. We pass props from one actor to another. So I might pass a letter over to Joe through the screen.
This will never be. You understand? I am gonna be a lawyer, Joe. I am gonna be a lawyer.
Or there's one part where the 2 actresses pass a cigarette back and forth between the 2 screens.
Now put it away.
And so that's our own little special effect, which I think keeps the magic of theater alive while we're doing Zoom.
I really liked that. I think it's the concept of, as a facilitator, how can you take some of those ideas and bring them into your training to make it more dynamic? Are you going to pass a cigarette through the screen? No, probably not. But you could tell your learners, hey, bring a snack to our next training because we're going to sit and talk for 5 minutes and then maybe incorporate a game into that where they like share cookies through their little rectangles. Or if you're co-facilitating a trainer with another person, maybe pass a drink back and forth or a cookie. Just have fun with it, just to make it an experience where you really are connecting as individuals. It's not just you talking, and presenting. So I really liked that. Okay, our third and final exercise, and this is actually like homework. Okay, so I love that you have really good lighting. I always notice your beautiful nails. I mean, these are all things that we talked about in our last training that portray your personality and the things that you value, right? It's your environment on Zoom. It's this rectangle. But for homework, I challenge you, Anna, to think of like one thing that you could add to your environment. Like I see a picture back there on this side. Is there anything that you could add to it that could serve as a conversation starter? Something that reflects you and your personality and can just add, that little extra bit of novelty to your training. So that is my third exercise. And we're done. Audience, brevity, connection. Those were the ABCs of using your digital body language on Zoom. And so now it's just if you have questions.
I do have a question. In the very first slide, you said lighting, we can change it in your computer. Can you tell me how?
Yes. Okay, so there's a couple things you can do. I have a MacBook, and at the top of my keyboard, I have a little sun logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so literally all I'm doing, and I don't know if
Oh, I got it.
and you see me turning down my light, and then now I'm turning it back up.
Yes, I got it. Look, I can play with it.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool because it's so simple. But
Okay.
and then I'll show you. I don't have one of those cool lights that all the YouTube stars have. The
Yeah,
little.
I don't have one either.
I have a book light though.
Oh, okay.
I took my book light. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but I was just kind of having fun with it. The number one thing you could do is face a window and then have like sheer curtains. So you want light directly facing your face, but you want it to be muted light.
Got it. I really like the button. I didn't know about the button. I'm so having fun with it right now. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. This is pretty cool. I do have a quick comment for you, what you can pass. You know how they were passing cigarettes? I have this quick game. You pass a ball. So you pretend like you have a ball and you throw it and you name a person. And then the person catches the ball. And then it can be any question. It can be like, how was your day? Or it could be like, okay, my ball is round. And then I send it to you and you catch it and you can go, my ball is round and red or whatever. Like you can ask them to name it, ask them to repeat it. So that's something you can pass the ball.
I think that's an awesome idea. I'm going to use that one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
This was pretty awesome. I like it. Thank you.
Well, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to just stop record.
Okay.
Let me stop share real quick. Let's see. And then